Citizens of the Capitol, it is time for another episode of the Capitol Wrestling Podcast with your host, Darnell Mitchell and Dustin Smothers. This week, Darnell and Dustin review the latest episode of Capitol Television featuring the historic main event from Anniversary between the Concrete Rose, Sonny Kiss, and the Bad Apple, Matt McIntosh. Dustin and Darnell also preview this Saturday night's huge event in Hoboken at the Capitol Auditorium, Mystery Dream Match 3000, featuring the undisputed, or disputed depending on who you're talking to, heavyweight championship match between Ken Dixon and Too Hot Steve Scott. We're also breaking down all the other matches on Mystery Dream Match 3000, including Paul Jourdain versus Matt McIntosh, the Mempho Mofo defending Juanita against Hot Dog Starks, and Capitol Incorporated versus Anthony Gangone and Colossal Mike Law. Darnell also sits down with the creators of To Be the Man, a great comic book you should all check out, which will be available this Saturday night at the Capitol Auditorium. So without any further ado, citizens of the Capitol, let's start the show.
Citizens of the Capitol, rejoice, for it is another edition of the Capitol Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, the metal mouth of Midwest Wrestling. My name is Dustin Smothers, and I am joined, as I am each and every week here in the halls of the Capitol, by the fabulous fashionista of Brooklyn, New York, Darnell Mitchell. Darnell, how we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's been a turbulent week, I think, for everyone in the world. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of things going backwards and sideways. But I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm talking to you. So it's a good day.
Good. It should be. Pretty amazing. So pretty uplifting. So, and I'm wearing a Ren and Stimpy Happy Joy shirt. So
I'm playing with my log, to be honest. This is crazy. What a coincidence.
That sounds disgusting, but okay.
Darnell, we have a lot to get to this week here on the Capitol Wrestling Podcast. We've got some great guests coming up here in a little bit, the creators of the To Be the Man comic book.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm a big graphic novel fan, obviously. So it was really cool to speak to one half of the creators of the graphic novel, Jared Davis, kind of figuring out where their inspiration came from, how they kind of met, their connection to Capitol, which is very interesting. The amount of people that know of Capitol through Ken Dixon, to me, is really hilarious. He is a nice person. It was a really, really cool conversation. So it was cool to geek out with them, and I can't wait to see them this Saturday. Episode 2, graphic novel, just came out this week, over the past week. So I'll have to pick that up this Saturday at Mystery Dream Match 3000.
No, it's really cool because obviously this week, all the talent, everyone getting ready for Mystery Dream Match 3000. And so the good brothers from To Be the Man stepped in as our guest this week. And I'm really excited for everyone to hear that interview, Darnell. It was great. But we've got an episode of television to dive into here before we get to the actual card for Mystery Dream Match 3000. And this week we were treated to the epic main event from the last Capitol show, which was Capitol Anniversary, between Sonny Kiss, the Concrete Rose, and the Bad Apple, Matt McIntosh. And this was absolutely one of the best matches in the history of Capitol Wrestling. We talked about Gangone and Darius Carter had one of the best matches. This also lived up to the hype, Darnell. You were there live. I don't think it was the outcome we were looking for, but I'm really happy.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I'm a very big fan of Sonny Kiss, and so I really was pulling for him. But I got to tell you, at the end of this, I wasn't disappointed. Matt McIntosh really impressed me, and the sportsmanship he displayed after the match was really interesting to me and really did a lot to reframe my way of thinking about the Bad Apple, Darnell.
Yeah, I think that, he's always been one of those people that he kind of, I think, teeters the line between heel and face a lot of the time, sort of tweener, but he will definitely sell you on him just being a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And for me, like, just knowing that the idea of a future championship opportunity for 2018 was on the line, like, as much as I love Sonny, I felt that Matt had to prevail in this particular matchup, just because I want to see him more. I want to see him fight for championships. So I thought it was very important.
It's very fair. And honestly, we spent several of the first episodes we were on this podcast together talking about Sonny Kiss being the future of the Capitol, and more than likely maybe taking that title from Ken Dixon in 2018. But it's pretty good to see the Capitol's main event scene growing and more names jumping in there as guys who maybe will take the place of Sonny Kiss in our prognostications for 2018. Darnell, is there anyone else that the citizens of the Capitol should really be keeping an eye on outside of this trio that we're talking about a lot? Obviously, Gangone and Darius Carter probably come to mind as well.
I think that, even though I realize he's going to be wrestling for the championship now, I think Too Hot Steve Scott is really making a name for himself in a really, really small amount of time in the championship business, and I think people can't forget, even though that they're in a sort of group or stable, but Paul Jourdain is still someone to watch, and I think as things go on, I think it's just going to be a matter of time before Paul kind of just says fuck it and goes for that belt, goes for Ken Dixon's undisputed title that he holds. That hair deserves a belt for sure.
Well, and you look up and down any card at a Capitol Wrestling event, and you see guys who are fully capable of stepping into that role, and that's really one of the foundations of Capitol Wrestling, and really what drew me to want to be a part of this organization was the diversity and the talent and the amount of people who were getting an opportunity that maybe wouldn't get an opportunity somewhere else like they are here. So it's just amazing to see the main event scene growing, and I didn't think I'd like Sonny Kiss maybe getting shoved out of the title scene, but I'll tell you what, Matt McIntosh is someone, if you're not, keep your eyes on, without question. Darnell, we've got a huge event coming up this Saturday evening in Hoboken, New Jersey, 301 Garden Street at the Capitol Auditorium. This Saturday night, April the 28th, in the year of our Lord, 2018, as Matthew would say. 8 p.m., tickets available at CapitolMDN3000.brownpapertickets.com. Right now, I advise you to get your tickets now. You never know. This is shaping up to be one of the hottest cards in the area this Saturday night, Darnell, and I don't think anybody should miss it. I know you won't miss it. You'll be there live.
I will be there live. One thing that is very interesting to me is I live in New York City, obviously. I guess my roommate's home.
Hello, roommate.
Hi. I live in New York City, obviously, but I also I don't run to as many people as I thought I would have ran into going to wrestling shows. You would think you would run into more often people, especially being on Twitter. There's a couple of followers on Twitter that have been to Capitol shows that I'm at, and I'm just like, they're like, oh yeah, I saw you. You were wearing a nice suit. I'm like, why wouldn't you say hi?
we're larger than life personalities, apparently. I don't know that I would actually say that about myself at all, but you are. I would be intimidated. You're sassy as fuck, Darnell. You tell people to take a damn seat left and right.
I know, but I'm really, really nice. So I wish more people would say hi to me.
And if your hotel staff tries to kill you, he will call them and yell at them for you.
I will. I'm really good at that. However, I'm very excited that I get to meet Felicia Rose.
Yes.
Who I also didn't put together that she was in a relationship with Jay George. So, like, it all makes sense. But she's going to be at the show. So I'm really, really excited to each time I've been at the Capitol, meet someone new and experience the Capitol with someone new. I think is really, really cool and really, really fun.
You know, I got a really quick one. I shouted her out this week on Twitter because, I don't know, I started following her about a month ago. I had no idea until just a few days ago that she was the
Face
fuck me Finn girl. And one of my favorite things about her is how just, like, upfront and honest about who she is and what she wants to be and what she's going to do to get it. And that, to me, is inspirational. That may come as a surprise to some people, but she's awesome. And so I'm really cool. You'll have to report back on and how she is. Tell her I said hello if she recognizes my name. But Darnell, that's the key thing here is everybody is coming to the Capitol this Saturday night. You mentioned Jay George. He is going one-on-one with Bo Crockett. Darnell, what can you tell me about these two guys? These are two of the guys in the Capitol that I'm not as familiar with.
Well, Bo Crockett, you remember him being in affiliation with Mifo Mofo.
Mm-hmm.
When Mifo won his belt against Colossal Mike Law on February 10th. Bo Crockett.
On his fucking birthday, too.
On my birthday.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Even bigger. It's an international incident now.
Bo Crockett was a person that might have conveniently came out wearing a hoodie and attacked them.
It was that son of a bitch. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Jay George is actually he was a part of that crazy 6-man no DQ tornado tag at the last show.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
He's like the beautiful chocolate skinned man with an afro.
Gotcha. Yep, absolutely.
That threw a pizza into the crowd. That was just unsanitary, though.
Well, I mean, you got the fucking New Day running out throwing pancakes out of their trunks into the crowd. I got hit in the face with a piece of pancake at WrestleMania. So I would take pizza over pancakes any day.
Oh no! I mean, at least the pancakes are dry. The pizza is
greasy and delicious. I'd rather get cheese and pizza sauce and grease all over me than get hit in the face with a pancake that's been rubbing up against Big E's junk.
Well, I mean, for different reasons, I would disagree.
So, let's see here. Out of these two, Darnell, I honestly would feel awful if I picked because I'm not familiar with their work. I do now recall both of them, but I've only seen very small amounts of them. Who would you pick? The expert you are, who are you taking in this match on Saturday night?
I originally wanted to go for Bo Crockett, but with Felicia Rose, I wonder if she gets involved to defend her man's honor. She is known for her, as we saw at NYC Wrestling over the past weekend, she's known for her vicious motorboating.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with Jay George.
I think he's got a decided advantage with the People's Tramp on his side for sure.
Absolutely.
Joe Keys versus Robert Locke. Now, I'm very familiar with Joe Keys, but Robert Locke, the name's familiar, Darnell, but do you have any more information on him?
First of all, let's talk a little bit about Swipe Right Joe Keys. He's so pretty. Even though I know that he is not right for me, probably because he's straight, but
that's a little thing.
Well, I mean, you know me, like that has never stopped me before.
It's just a speed bump.
Yeah. Robert Locke is someone who I've seen a lot of stuff on the independents. To be honest, I cannot remember if he's wrestled for Capitol Wrestling. Okay. But he's actually someone who I do follow on Twitter. He's just really, really funny. And I know he's been talking about his. He tweeted not too long ago about, it's my childhood dream to fight somebody in Hoboken. Please help. Well. So I think he's going to be really interesting. really, really funny in the ring. So I think this is going to be kind of a great comedic match for the audience.
Well, it'll be great. You have a guy, obviously, this right there. More examples of Capital Wrestling giving opportunities to guys. What cooler situation to be in than wanting to wrestle in the town so desperately and getting that opportunity. Formidable challenge he will have, though, against Joe Keys, Mr. Swipe Right. I do feel confident in Swipe Right Joe Keys. I will pick him in this match without a doubt.
I'll do the same. Joe Keys is kind of he's a staple of Capital Wrestling, so I think he's got a lot going for him. So yeah.
All right, well, we're swiping right on this match for sure. But moving on to the next one, another one that I'm very interested in. I'd swipe right on this as well. Steven Pena and a mystery partner will take on Isaiah Wolf and Hank Flanders with that abominable CPA. I can't stand this guy.
I know he wrestles. Who wrestles in a button down and like trousers?
Erwin R. Shyster is about it.
Dakota, what's that guy's name from the Midwest?
What now?
With the suspenders, the red suspenders.
Suspenders. Wait, what?
Dakota. He's from Iowa.
What?
How do you not know this?
Oh, are you talking about Lakota Red Wing?
No.
I was like, Dakota what?
You're
Dakota Hungerford. Sorry. Yes, god damn it. Sorry, Dakota. Yes, actually, I want to put him over. He is incredibly entertaining. If you have not heard of him, I'll get his Twitter up because I don't actually know it right off the top of my head. But yeah, no, great call there. Anyway, about this match, Darnell. I gotta go with the team with the CPA. I think the guy's clearly very good at what he does. He's audited his opponents well, and I think the tax plan will be just fine on Saturday night.
I agree. I'm very curious as to see who Steven Pena picks as his mystery tag team partner for Mystery Dream Match 3000. But I can't really go against someone whose name Hank Flanders but wears a bandana. Like I can't go against that person. Like that person's got to win. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Team TBA.
Okay. Next up, we got looks like this one's gonna be really fun. Juba versus Just Neff. Darnell, tell us more about Just Neff.
Okay, first of all, Just Neff has an amazing look. He's an extremely solid wrestler. He's been kind of a staple here in New York City, but that's cute and all. But you're going against Juba.
Yeah.
Like, that's not really... It's Juba. I always want to support, a hometown person. Just Neff, it's kind of been everywhere here in New York, in Brooklyn, in Queens. But again, it's Juba. Like, he's going to destroy you. I'm so sorry, Just Neff. I'm so sorry.
I got to agree with you here. I don't think you pick against Juba. Then we have the Danger Sanctuary versus one of my favorite teams. May not be as popular as others, but the Perfect Strangers. And in this one, honestly, tag team division in Capital Wrestling is on fire right now. This could very well be a de facto #1 contenders match at this rate. I'm going to go with my guys, the Perfect Strangers here, but the Danger Sanctuary is no laughing matter, and I think the Perfect Strangers could very well end up on the losing end of this one too. So it's kind of a pick'em. I'm going to go with the Strangers. Darnell, what are your thoughts?
I love Marcus Marquis. I love Andros the Great, but we all know how I felt about Ryan Zane in particular. But with the four of them, with Neil Sharkey, with Vinny Pacifico, with Timmy Danger, with Ryan Zane, it's just, I think the numbers game is going to prevail. I just realized I'm going very heel heavy
Hey.
for this particular show, but I think the Danger Sanctuary, it's been a while since Timmy was at the show. I believe his last show was also Masterclass, February 10th, because they hit my man Ronnie Burton, little assholes. But it's a numbers game. Danger Sanctuary all the way, unfortunately.
All right, well, as we've mentioned, all of this is going down this Saturday night, April 28th at 8 p.m. at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, New Jersey. It is Capital Wrestling Presents Mystery Dream Match 3000. Tickets available at capitalmdm3000.brownpapertickets.com. Darnell, we're going to throw it over to your interview with To Be the Man, and when we come back, we'll finish running down the top of the card. We'll be right back after this fantastic interview, because remember, to be the man, Darnell,
you've got to beat the man.
Woo!
Citizens of the Capital, it is I, the fabulous fashionista of Brooklyn, Capital Wrestling interview this week, and I am here with someone that I'm super, super excited to talk about. It's especially, while I have a love for wrestling, I have an intense love for graphic novels. So combining the two together is pretty amazing. I am here with one of the creators of the graphic novel To Be the Man, Jared Davis. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to have you here on the show. Thank you very much for being here.
Of course. Thank you.
Have you done a lot of podcasts about
we've done a handful now. I've done Deep Six, a couple comics, and a couple wrestling. Did one with some guys down in Tennessee last week. So we're really just trying to get our feet off the ground, get some traction. We've only released chapter 1 of the comics or graphic novel so far. And chapter 2 actually comes out tomorrow. I'm not sure when you'll be airing this, but tomorrow is 420, and we've got chapter 2 hitting the shelves tomorrow. So it's only been really a couple months that we've been out there on podcasts, selling the books, etc.
Awesome. I'm sorry, I'm a child for that 420 reference. For the people who don't know, tell people a little bit about what To Be the Man is and its connection with professional wrestling.
Sure. Well, the story is two 1980s boozed up, roided up, drugged up pro wrestlers on the road in Reagan's America, and they are fighting evil both in and out of the ring. So it's a story that takes place. Our protagonists are pro wrestlers. It takes place in a wrestling world, but there are certainly elements of the supernatural and a lot of crazy surprises that take place in this world.
And you're the writer or the illustrator of the graphic novel?
I am the writer, and the illustrator, his name is Josh Taylor. He is an amazing artist. I even if people don't like comics, and even if people hate my stupid little story, Josh's artwork is absolutely incredible. And he's been in the comics game for much longer. He's been doing it for over a decade, and has been for several years working on a graphic novel series called Black Powder Red Earth, which is like a military comic that takes place in the Middle East with special ops and a lot of military stuff that I don't understand. So a whole other world than this kind of crazy, batshit, insane, drinking, drugging, pro wrestling story that we're telling here.
Mm-hmm. I always say that wrestling, they kind of overlap. Wrestling and comic books and video games, a lot of the fan base overlap one another. What brought this on? What spurred this on?
Well, to your first point, I think that's something that all the separate sort of genres often overlook. The comic genre and the wrestling and the like horror film, sci-fi. There's this whole geek culture, and wrestling really has become a part of that. You go to the Comic Cons now, you see some of the wrestlers doing signings. Of course, there are some other wrestling comics out there that are much more corporate. You know, they're big dollar productions that WWE has a lot of involvement with. But I think a lot of smaller wrestling promotions, indie wrestling promotions, and then sort of comic cons and comic groups take for granted that there is such an overlap. So, and I've never really been a comics guy myself. Josh and I met in college. We both went to Pratt Institute, an art school here in New York, and we're both massive wrestling fans. Just that was the Monday Night War era, the Attitude Era. We were glued to the television every Monday night and Thursday once SmackDown and Thunder started.
Mm-hmm.
But we were massive fans and have been friends all this time. And the story was something that had kind of been percolating in my brain for a little while about these, you know, crazy drunken wrestlers on the road, kind of road stories. And he and I started talking about doing something together, and it got crazier and crazier and crazier, and we started incorporating a little bit of the horror and a lot of the comedy and silliness and the sort of territory era kind of narrative, and it all came together, and here we are.
Yeah, I bought the first issue. I believe I might have met you at the...
Yeah, we met each other at the Capitol show, right?
Yes. So you kind of debuted kind of your graphic novel at the Capitol show. Was that Anniversary? And I was like, it's a graphic novel and it's wrestling. Why would I not be purchasing this? And I read it and I love it. It kind of had a very... This might be a weird sort of combination, but it had a very Night of the Living Dead and The Wrestler by Darren Aronofsky feel.
Yeah. That, in fact, we did some sponsorship for Bruce Pritchard's Morning Deuce with Bruce. So he does kind of short little videos on his Facebook page to accompany the Something to Wrestle With podcast. And that was one of the things that I had in the spot that he did for us, was that it was very much a kind of combination of Ash versus Evil Dead and Aronofsky's Wrestler. So a lot of influence from those. And then I love my 1980s pro wrestling. I consume it on the network. And I probably watch as much of that old stuff as I do of the new stuff, although the last couple of weeks have been really hot in WWE. But yeah, there are a lot of different influences. We're horror geeks. We have a crude, crass sense of humor. So it kind of balled up all our interests and geeky loves and personalities, and that's what you get.
Yeah, I had a blast reading it. I'm a huge horror fan. My dad raised me on horror films and kind of like sci-fi films when I was younger. My three favorite, I don't even know, you can't really call that a horror film, but like my three favorite, like sort of kind of old school sci-fi 80s like film. It's not a horror film, but I will watch Big Trouble in Little China every single time it's on.
That's probably Josh's favorite film. He's done a lot of really cool Big Trouble art.
It's amazing. That film is ridiculous. I have a couple of toys from it, and one day I was like on Facebook and I was like, oh my God, there's this great Big Trouble in Little China shirt, and I put it online and I was like, oh, if someone wants to buy this and send it to me, the size small, that'd be great. And then like my friend Matt, who I met at WrestleMania, he was like, size small? What's your address? I was like, shut up. But that...
Well, there had been the talk of a remake.
With The Rock, though.
With The Rock, yeah. And it's one of those things. I love The Rock. I don't know about him taking that character, but...
Well, because that was the whole point of the character, was that he was big and bad, but he was a dumbass. Like, he doesn't really... Even in the entire film, he's kind of making an ass of himself.
You know who would be better in that role? Who does the dopey big dude even better than The Rock?
Chris Pratt?
John Cena.
Oh.
John Cena plays the dopey tough guy really well.
He does, actually. And Now,
And he's fun.
and he's really funny. I really want to see Cock Blockers.
Yeah, my wife saw it and she loved it, so I'm anxious to see it as well.
Yeah, so that The Thing.
Classic, one of the greatest of all time.
I
So
know.
you're a John Carpenter fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my dad just used to watch it all the time, and it was we didn't have a lot in common, but like actually, yeah, we had a weird relationship, but like my dad loved comic books, so he got me into comic books. You know, my dad loved writing, so I got into writing. My dad loved video games, so I played video games. It was all a kind of a way for me to sort of I don't want to say please him as a person, but because of that, I still fell in love with it. And a movie that no one talks about that I think is like one of the greatest films in the world is Fright Night.
Oh yes, yes. The scene where he's in bed and she rolls over and her skull face is showing, that traumatized me as a kid.
It's amazing. So you being a big horror fan, what do you think were some of the films that influenced you and writing this particular graphic novel?
Oh, well, I mean, you'll see some more aesthetic influences in chapter 2 as a little bit darker side comes into play in the story. And some of that influence is actually, I'm a big Italian horror fan. So I love the Dario Argento and Mario Bava and Lucio Fulci. And Josh, a big fan of that stuff as well. I think both him and I were such huge fans of the genre that you could break horror down into so many subgenres. There's the horror comedy, the horror sci-fi, the zombies, the supernatural, the Italian stuff, the gore, and I'm a fan for all that stuff. So you'll see some Argento influence, a little bit of the aesthetic. There's definitely some Evil Dead, Sam Raimi kind of horror comedy in there.
My favorite line of probably of all time actually is, I think it's from Army of Darkness, where he says,
Boomstick?
He says, first you wanted to kill me, now you want to kiss me, blow me.
Yeah.
And Brian Cage actually had, it's one of his old shirts. Brian Cage, who I don't know if you,
Lucha Underground.
Yes, yeah, one of his original shirts. I don't know if you knew this, but I have it. It's an Army of Darkness, like the picture, you know, where she's kind of like, it's kind of very like Star Wars looking, where she's laying down, but it's Brian Cage's face on top of Ash's face.
Nice.
It's a great fucking shirt. But sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no. I mean, I was just saying that there are influences from all that stuff. I mean, when I write, and I also have like a fine art practice, and I'm, you know, a designer, and I pull from all that stuff. All that stuff I grew up with lives in my head constantly, and whether it's the scary side or the funny side or the wrestling side, you'll definitely find a lot of movies and wrestlers and things that, you know, I mean, it's a bit of a nostalgia trip in kind of the same vein as Stranger Things. There are a lot of, it's, you know, full of Easter eggs. There are a lot of things that you'll start noticing that are referenced from 80s pro wrestling, or things like Evil Dead, Ash versus Evil Dead, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So I assume you are a writer full time?
No, I'm actually a corporate art director full time.
Really?
So I have sold my soul to the capitalist overlords, so that they may allow me to, you know, do this project.
Oh, I don't believe in selling your soul. I think it's incredible if you can get a great job and it still has something to do with something you love. So sell your soul, because it's paying the bills.
And it's a design job. I do enjoy that you know, side of my life, but this is really my passion project, and we're really excited that Chapter 2 is coming out. We're doing a lot of upcoming shows. We've got MCW, Maryland Championship Wrestling's tribute to the Legends, coming up on Saturday, and that's like a all day con with, let's see, Nash, HBK, X-Pac, Luger, Norton, Ernest the Cat.
Oh, Ernest the Cat.
Yeah. I wish Sonny Ono was going to be there. And I'm missing a few names, but we're going to be there selling the book on Saturday. We're doing Capital again on the 28th, next Saturday, and are one of the sponsors of that event. We're sponsoring the main event with Ken Dixon. Josh, our illustrator, has actually done several of Dixon's shirts in the past, so they had a previous relationship, knew each other, and he's been a big supporter of us. We're a huge supporter of his. And so we're really excited. Things are starting to build for us, and we're totally indie. So it's all out of my pocket. It's a big money pit so far, but we're hoping to, get. So far, everyone that has seen the book has really, really loved it, and we just want to get more eyes on it and support those who are supporting us and support indie wrestling. And be big wrestling geeks with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. So is that how your relationship with Capital Wrestling came to be? Was Josh's relationship with Ken Dixon?
No, I think it was actually Matt Ryan that reached out to me initially and just said, really love your stuff. Check us out. Would you be interested in sponsoring? And I jumped on it. I'm in Harlem. Josh is actually, he was in New York for several years, but he's recently moved up to Vermont. So it's a bit of a drive down for him, but we love the product. We love the mutual support, being able to support those guys and them support us. And it just worked out great that Matt reached out to us. And I had actually, ironically, I had gone to my first HOG show, I think about a month prior to him contacting me, and he was a star, an amazing performer, and really stood out. So at the intermission, I had some books in my bag. I knew if I saw some of the wrestlers, I wanted to just, put one in their hands, and I gave one to him at the event. So I don't think he knew it was me until we actually met each other at the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's I love Matt. I've known Matt for a couple of years. I've met him he's my good friend's friend, but she's my friend too. But they've known each other for 8 years or something, and I went to some random show in the Bronx, and Matt was there, and then I actually went to quite a bit of House of Glory shows myself. And Matt is one of a kind. I think he always listens to these, and I hate that. It's his job, but he really is this version of Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I've had the briefest of interactions with him, and like I said, my seeing him for the first time was as a performer, and so fantastic. The really fast sprint around the ring, and then he gets away and he stops and he has a bit of a heart attack because he's so out of breath. Just a fantastic, really, really stood out on that show. Besides LAX and Amazing Red and Low Key, I couldn't have. Maybe I remember Caveman and
oh yeah, he's good.
Caveman and Savage, but I Superstar Savage, but Matt really stood out as a performer. And then just in my brief interactions with him, so friendly, just from seeing what he's doing with Capital Wrestling, the guy is obviously an incredibly hard worker and he loves this. So it's awesome for us to be able to be a part of that, to be at the shows. And we're really excited about next Saturday.
Yeah, I'm excited to, first of all, buy the next issue. Cause like I said, I read it, I think there was a day I put it on my Instagram or something, but I read it that day and I was just like, wow, this is really
thank
good.
You for the photo. We're trying to share those as much as possible. Too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I try to promote it on my Twitter. I believe someone that I know from Twitter ordered it off of Amazon. They live in the UK.
Yeah. I did see that on that person on Twitter. Yeah. And we're focusing now kind of on the New York area because that's where I am. That's kind of home base. But I've got people in Europe. I lived in China for 6 years. I lived in London for a couple of years. So we're trying to get it to those people. We have had it reviewed in one British comic magazine. So I'm excited about getting it out on multiple continents.
Is there any? I know you said you were doing the con this Saturday, which would be when this is posted. It would be last Saturday. Any plans for you guys? I mean, you guys would probably do an incredible time here at WinterCon here in New York City or Comic Con. Any plans to potentially do something like that with the comic?
Absolutely. Well, Josh does it every year with the comic or the graphic novel series that I mentioned earlier, Black Powder Red Earth. So he actually has a table with those guys up on the main floor. I've applied for an Artist Alley spot, so we'll hopefully get that. And then he'll have an awful time because I'll make him run up and down between. And we are really, I want to start pressing the comic audience more once we have 5 or 6 chapters. So this book 1 is actually going to be 13 chapters. So we're releasing them individually as kind of like issues or volumes. But me just being kind of a literary guy, I preferred chapters since at the end we're going to collect it as a graphic novel. But right now we're kind of focusing on the wrestling fans. We really want to get in. We think that I'm a massive I'm probably not the biggest one out there, but I'm a big wrestling fan, and we really want that audience to enjoy it. And if they do, then hopefully as we continue to build and get more issues out there, then start really working the comic cons and going for that audience as well.
Mm-hmm. As a massive comic book fan, I know you were talking about your love for WWE and WCW. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. Your relationship with the independent scene, are you aware of a lot of things in independence? Or are you relatively new to the independent scene?
Well, the big indies were always there on my radar. I've always known of ROH for a decade, and of course Impact has been there, and Evolve I've known about for a long time, and the All Japan, New Japan, but I really haven't been. I'm a WWE guy. There's just so much content out there. I think you kind of got to pick what you're going to stick with, especially these days when I've got Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Tuesday, NXT on Wednesday, and then if I can fit some AWA or Mid-South or that stuff from the network into my week, which my wife really isn't a huge fan of. She's a fan of the current product, but she gets a little bored with the old stuff.
She is.
But back to your point, the smaller indies, Capital here in New York, HOG, Bree Combination Wrestling, some of these smaller guys have really just popped up on my radar in the past several months, maybe the past 6 months. And it's really exciting because it's that mix of bringing in a big star or two, a big legend or two to do some signings and say hello. And, maybe like HOG, they've got your low key, Amazing Red or LAX, and Capital have got Sonny Kiss and Dixon and, McIntosh and some of these, not big names, but guys that you could certainly see in NXT someday. So these have really just come on my radar recently, and I'm loving it. I'm loving you guys.
Thank you. I don't do anything. I just do the podcast and I sit front row and try to look pretty. Capital. I love Capital, and it's not just because I do the podcast or anything. It's I genuinely love the product, and I love the characters. For you, when you first started being kind of seeing Capital and stuff like that, what do you think stands out about Capital, and what character or what wrestler did you naturally gravitate towards?
Well, the shows that I've watched, I'm not sure that the guys have been on. Like Sonny Kiss was just on this last show, but I'm not sure that he was on the show before that. I saw him for the first time at a WOW show in Staten Island maybe a year ago.
What is that, Women's of Wrestling?
No, it's not. This was actually a show that had Muhammad Hassan was there. Muhammad Hassan and Daivari were there together for like the first time in years. I got a picture taken with them. And like Mean Gene and Mouth of the South were there just doing signings. And it was not great action. I think Rene Dupree was in a tag match. But Sonny Kiss had star written all over him. Had the crowd in the palm of his hand. And so when we saw him at Capitol, we were really excited. And Dixon, of course, we've been fans of Maryland Championship Wrestling, I guess. Josh has been a fan for longer, but me for maybe the last year and a half. So he's a big name with them. Honestly, the thing that I found most impressive about the Capitol product was the aesthetic, the really cool design. Of the kind of flyers and posters and Instagram stuff that Matt's doing, and the setup, like they're in the little Capitol Auditorium, I think is what they call it. I'm not sure what the building actually is there in Hoboken, but the red curtains and the lighting and just the way the crowd was set up around the ring with the stage, I really thought it was a cool aesthetic. And when I took photos, a lot of people were like, whoa, that looks really cool. Love the lighting. Love that red. So that was something that I thought was really, really awesome.
Especially for someone like you. I always say it's weird that I've been watching wrestling for 22 years, which is really still not that long. So a lot of old school wrestling I know nothing about. I could tell you about Hulk Hogan, but I never saw Hulk Hogan when I was a kid. But Capitol has that sort of old school mentality that I like, and old school like appearance, which I think is really, really cool.
It borrows a little bit from ECW in that kind of rough around the edges, but then it's a little more polished. It's not blood and guts, like ECW. It's a little more polished product and really good in-ring action. A lot of good chain wrestling. Darius Carter. I mean,
he's really good.
You gotta love that guy. What a heel. Really, really good. And when we saw him in the crowd, actually, he was kind of coming through the crowd at the BCW, the Brie Combination show. He was still, playing the heel. Really, I think he's fantastic. Would love to see some of these guys in NXT.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of them have definitely the character, the ability to make it to WWE, to make it to Impact, to make it to Ring of Honor. I think Matt and Marcus and someone who doesn't get enough credit, Shannon. I believe she books a lot of the people for the company, but they do a really, really good job of finding people that I've never heard of. And
Matt McIntosh.
He is so goddamn good.
Yeah. I mean, he's really good.
I want him on the podcast so bad, and we've talked a bit, and we always just kind of miss each other, but like he is one of the few people where I live in Brooklyn, and hopefully we'll be moving back to Washington Heights in the next couple of weeks. But I live in Brooklyn, and I've actually gone to two independent shows actually here in Brooklyn, specifically because he was on the card. Like, he's that good that he was enough for me to be like, yes, I'm going to go to this show. I mean, one was also 3 blocks from my apartment. So I was
That
like,
if you don't go, that you should be ashamed of yourself.
yeah, I was like, well, it's literally 3 blocks away.
I totally agree. He's definitely got it. He impressed me.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him and Paul Jardine. But Jared, I want to wrap this up, but I want to ask you a question about 2B the Man again.
Sure.
What 2018? We just started this venture. What do you see 2B the Man becoming? What are your aspirations for the graphic novel? What are your aspirations for this hopefully fruitful relationship between wrestling and comic books on your end?
I want people to see Josh's work. What he does is so amazing. I'm a mark for his stuff. Always have been. Friendship bias aside, you'll see as we get farther into the story, and the books start getting a little bit denser in each chapter. His artwork just comes to life. The colors, the way he represents the action, the facial expressions and the emotions and the comedic element. I just want people to see that. I know people are going to love it when they do. I hope that, I hope this is something that we can really make into something big. I would like to see us hopefully, after this book 1, as I mentioned, it's going to be 13 chapters. That's going to be quite an investment for me. I would love for us to get some distribution rights, get a publisher on board that would support us, that likes what we're doing, to push us. I would love to make this more of my life as we get farther down the road, and it's not such a money pit. I want to do more cons. I want to do more shows. I want wrestling fans to know about this book, because I think it's something that wrestling fans, especially, wrestling fans from in my age group and probably your age group, that have kind of a warped, dark sense of humor and are into kind of the funny, outlandish stuff that are happening in these books, and like old school wrestling and like these crazy characters. I just want to get as many eyes on it as possible and take it as far as we can.
Absolutely. I want to on this podcast, on the Capital Wrestling Podcast, I'm the only one that really decides like who we get to interview, because I get to do it, and I pick, and it was, which sometimes is I'm sure can annoy people, because I definitely pick the people I'm like, I really want to interview you, but it was something, the second that I figured out about 2B the Man, I told Dustin immediately, we have to have them on the podcast. And the second I was there at the show, I was like, all right, I need to buy this graphic novel. Josh's work is fantastic, but I also, of course, you are being very, very gracious to your friend, but your writing work is really, really fun to read.
Thank you very much.
Your product is really, really good. I think that what you're doing is very, very smart. I think the combination between horror and wrestling and comics, it just all makes complete sense. And I think you guys do a fantastic job of it. I cannot wait to get your new graphic novel next Saturday at Capital Wrestling, 301 Garden Street. 3000 Mystery Dream Match. I have complete faith in you guys, and I hope that we as a company, I hope that if there's anything I can do to help support you guys, I will 100% will be there, because you guys are fan-fucking-tastic. So thank you.
We thank you so very much. Thank you to Matt. Thank you for having me on today, for the support of Capital Wrestling. We want to keep supporting those guys. And, we hope they grow. We'd love to grow right alongside them. And please do go pick up Chapter 2 Both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 are available on Amazon, both in print and digital format. If you're a fan of digital comics, you can get it at Comixology. You can also get it over at our website, which is tobethemancomic.com. We've got t-shirts. We've got our comics on there. We're going to be throwing a lot more merch up in the next few months. If you want to get our tees, you can also get those at prowrestlingtees.com/tobethemancomic. So, thank you so much for having us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday.
Absolutely. Are you on social media? Is there any social media that people can follow you on?
We're all over social media, Instagram and Twitter. We're at tobethemancomic. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/tobethemancomic. So please do follow us there and check out our website too.
All right. Thank you so much, Jared, for being on Capital Wrestling. Thank you very much for your time. And we here at Capital Wrestling are happy to support To Be the Man, and we wish you guys nothing but success in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Absolutely fantastic interview. Those guys are awesome. I need to get my hands on some copies of this comic book.
Yeah, again, I highly suggest it. It's $8 if you're at the show. I think it's $10.99 on Amazon. Hearing, I do love, Jared's sort of his kind of thought process of his love of horror films, and it's such an interesting concept for a graphic novel, and their relationship with Capital Wrestling is really, really cool. And Matt's Matthew Ryan, great person. Matthew Ryan Shapiro, not so much.
Kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, kind of. Don't hold back. But yeah, I really, really, I can't wait to speak to Jared again this Saturday, and I'll be there a little early because I want to do some stuff with Candace, which should be really fun because I got my hair did today.
Oh.
But yeah, man, I can't wait to get graphic novel to talk to Jared a little bit more, and he's a delight. He's a fucking delight.
Well, and absolutely support independent pro wrestling, and also support independent comic books and comic book artists, especially kick-ass comic book artists and creators that are making comic books about professional wrestling. You can pick one of these up, hopefully both copies, maybe. I would hope they'd have maybe issue some number ones there. But you can pick up definitely number 2 this Saturday night, April 28th at 8 p.m. at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, New Jersey. It's Capital Wrestling presents Mystery Dream Match 3000. Tickets available at capitalmdm3000.brownpapertickets.com. Darnell, we were halfway through the card. We got through maybe the undercard, and now we're about to head into the top 4 matches, and these are 4 very big matches with very high stakes this Saturday night. The title picture for both the Sapphire and the Capital Wrestling title could be very different after Saturday night. But first up, what I had, obviously Matt McIntosh has a championship match. But if Paul Jourdain were to get a victory over the de facto number 1 contender on Saturday night, it could really send the top of the card into a tailspin in Capital. We're talking about Paul Jourdain going one-on-one with Matt McIntosh, Darnell. This has the makings of an instant classic on Saturday night. It's too hard to pick. Both of these guys are on a very solid roll. A lot of momentum. Who are you thinking here, Darnell?
Yeah, it's extremely hard to pick. They both are definitely on a roll. They both definitely are doing the thing in Capital Wrestling. I've called this my pretty hair versus pretty hair match, but don't insinuate that, or don't think that that's undermining how badass both of these guys are. It's the bastard versus the bad apple. I think that Paul is an incredibly capable wrestler. He gives good hugs. No, Paul's an incredible wrestler, but I think that Matt McIntosh has a hunger in him that Paul might not have. I think sometimes when you have Matthew Ryan Shapiro as your manager, you can kind of fall back and rely on him a little bit too much. And I think Matt has a newfound fire with getting his first win. At where did he get his first win? At Masterclass, actually. So he has 2 wins under his belt for Capital Wrestling. I think that it's just the start of it, and I think that he's going to use all the tricks he's learned. I saw him on Twitter say he hasn't wrestled in a couple of weeks. He took off for a bit, and I think he's been doing nothing but studying tape. So I think that he's ready for Paul Jourdain, and I'm going to go with Matt McIntosh.
I said it was a pick'em just to be a contrarian, and just to, when we come back next week to look at it, you can make me crow. I'll pick Paul Jourdain. The next match, presented by Orsini's Uncensored Mind, is a very intriguing match. The Memfo Mofo, the current reigning, defending Sapphire Television champion, will take on, and I double checked this several times to make sure I wasn't seeing things, Hot Dog Starks. This is gonna be awesome. Like, the idea of the Memfo Mofo looking across the ring at Hot Dog Starks gives me a lot of happiness.
Yeah, and I really love him and Juanita. It should be interesting. This is actually Memfo Mofo's first title defense in Capital Wrestling. I believe he did defend his belt against Matt Striker in Virginia in March. So he's kind of taking the belt around. He's taking Juanita around everywhere.
I would take that belt everywhere too. Let's be honest, the Sapphire Television title is one of the coolest looking championships in all of professional wrestling.
Absolutely. And he's also someone that
I'm sorry, Juanita. Juanita is one of the most beautiful championships.
Thank you. He's a great guy on a mic. He's a very methodic type of wrestler. I think there's no way that he is going to lose Juanita this quickly. But I think it's going to be a very interesting meeting of the minds, so to speak, for this match.
Yeah, I would love to pick Hot Dog Starks, and it's taken a lot of a lot from me to have to say this, but yeah, Memfo Mofo is probably going to steam Hot Dog Starks on Saturday night. Ketchup, mustard, and all the relish all over. After that one, we have a huge tag team match. This one presented by Choked Out Radio. I'm talking about Capital Inc., Darius Carter, and Logan Easton LaRue versus the team. And this is just, it's colossal. It's Anthony Gangone and the colossal one, Mike Law, teaming up to take on Capital Inc. Darius Carter left quite an impression with everyone at Capital's anniversary when he came out and attacked Sonny Kiss at the end of the night. Darius Carter, pulling no punches, made it very clear where he's going, what he wants, and what his intentions are here in the Capital, Darnell. Mike Law, we haven't seen since he lost the championship. We don't know how he's doing. Anthony Gangone is always ready. But I got to tell you, there's something burning inside of Darius Carter that I don't think anybody can handle right now. And I think Capital Inc. is probably going over on Saturday night.
I think... Oh, that's an interesting thing. I think so, too. I think the one downfall is Logan LaRue. Just because my interaction with him at Capital, he did lose in about 5 seconds to Sonny Kiss. So I think Darius has to make sure that he motivates Logan and gets him to not worry about his cashmere sweater, which I think would be very important. Because Anthony and Mike Law are two hungry men. And Logan has to make sure he delivers on his end. But Darius Carter is well known, especially from his former relationship with Anthony Gangle. He's well known for being able to recruit and motivate. So I gotta give it to Darius. I think Darius is he's as long as he keeps his eye out for Logan, as long as he helps motivate Logan, Darius got this in the bag maybe.
Absolutely. Darnell, final match of the night. It is for the disputed or undisputed, depending on who you talk to, Capital Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. The champion, the bald bastard Ken Dixon, with Matthew Ryan Shapiro in his corner, will be defending the championship against Too Hot Steve Scott. This match presented by To Be The Man. And in order for Steve Scott to be the man, he's got to beat the bald bastard Ken Dixon. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I enjoy Steve Scott, as much as I think he could be the standard bearer in the Capital Wrestling organization, Ken Dixon is on a roll. And I would be let down, I think, if I didn't get to see Matt McIntosh versus Ken Dixon.
I agree. I think Ken has this in the bag. Too Hot Steve Scott put on a hell of a match against Meek Drake at the last show, and he is a talent who's been around for, I think, don't quote me, but I feel like he's been around since like 2006, so I think he has quite some time in the business. The guy's smart, the guy has a great look, the guy is has lips like pillows. He really does though. Like I was like, oh wow, like you're like you don't have like Reba McEntire like white people lip syndrome. So that's always very positive. The things I notice from wrestlers is really funny. But Ken's got this. Ken has been extremely determined. Ken has been extremely focused since quote unquote winning or being handed that belt. And I think Matthew is, if there's one person that Matthew Ryan Shapiro is going to make sure retains, it's definitely Ken Dixon.
And all this is going down this Saturday night at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, New Jersey, at the Capitol Auditorium. It is Capital Wrestling presents Mystery Dream Match 3000. Tickets are still available at capitalmdm3000.brownpapertickets.com. I encourage you, I implore you to pick up your tickets in advance and make it to the Capitol. There's no excuses. This is going to be one of the biggest shows of all time. You've got to be there to experience Capital Wrestling in person and also to meet Darnell.
Yeah, because I am adorable. I'm not the most important thing there. Of course I'm not. But yeah, I'd love to meet new followers of Capital Wrestling. I'd love to talk to people. El Toro won't be there, which is really, really sad because I really, really like El Toro, who'll be actually kind of interesting to have on the show. But yeah, please, by all means, come say hi. I'll be wearing my custom floral suit that has wrestling stuff embroidered in the inside of it. But I am super, super excited for the show, and I'm super excited to see what Capital has in store for us.
Very good, very good. Well, Darnell, I think that about does it for this week. I want to thank everyone for listening. Make sure you're following Capital Wrestling on Twitter at Capital Wrestling. That's Capital with an O. Wrestling, drop the G on the end, so it's Capital Wrestling. Hopefully you can spell that, guys. You can also find them on Facebook at Capital Wrestling, as well as Instagram and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube to get all of the Capital content, this podcast, interviews, awesome behind-the-scenes footage, Capital Wrestling Television, obviously, every week at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Darnell, where can we find you on Twitter, and where can we see your beautiful face?
You can find me on Twitter at DinoLicious. You can also follow my podcast, The Queer Nerd. That's The Queer Nerd with a Z at the end. Also on Twitter. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Slay_Wyatt.
You can follow me on Twitter at Smohawk, on Instagram at Smohawk. If you're at all interested, head over to tpublic.com/Pro Wrestling Iowa. Actually, Pro Wrestling Mothership, perhaps, too. Try them both. I should probably check that before we've got some t-shirts available for us if you just want to help support Darnell and I a little bit. That'd be awesome. But more importantly, make sure you're at the Capitol Auditorium this Saturday night, 301 Garden Street, to support Capitol Wrestling. For myself, Darnell, and everyone here at the Capitol, we wish you all a wonderful week. We'll see you Saturday night. Come to the Capitol.